My name is Thomas, and I am 40 years old living here in Seattle. My life has always been a quiet hum of effort, like the distant rumble of the city's traffic, always there, always moving, but rarely making a grand sound. For years, I've worked the night shift as a janitor in one of those sprawling tech campuses downtown. It's a good job, steady, and the pay is enough to cover the rent on our small apartment in the Central District and keep the pantry stocked for my mother and me. She's 75 now, and her health isn't what it used to be. Every night as I wiped down endless surfaces and emptied countless bins, I'd think of her sleeping soundly, and that thought was the quiet engine that kept me going. My shift started when the last of the cubicle warriors left, leaving me alone with the hum of the servers and the vast, empty offices. It was peaceful in a way, just me and my thoughts, but lately those thoughts had grown heavy. The biggest weight wasn't the hours or the physical work, it was the creeping fear that I wasn't enough. My mother had started needing more care, special medicines, and regular doctor's visits. Each trip to the pharmacy chipped away at our savings, and the doctor's bills felt like a constant drip, slowly eroding the foundation we stood on. I started to dread the mail, the way an envelope with a hospital logo could turn a perfectly normal afternoon into a knot of anxiety in my stomach. I worried about what would happen if she got really sick, about how I would manage. This fear, this internal nemesis, whispered to me in the quiet moments, "You're failing. You can't protect her." I tried everything to make ends meet. I picked up extra shifts, working weekends for a catering company, hauling heavy trays of food and washing mountains of dishes until my back screamed. I even tried selling some of my old collectibles online, things I'd cherished since childhood, but the market wasn't great, and the small amounts I got felt like a drop in an ocean of need. I cut every expense I could. No more coffee shop treats, just the instant coffee I brewed at home. My car, a faithful old sedan, was starting to groan, but I put off repairs, hoping it would hold on just a little longer. One Tuesday evening, after a particularly long double shift, I got home to find my mother struggling to breathe. Her face was pale and she was clutching her chest. Panic seized me. I called for an ambulance, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. The paramedics arrived swiftly, and soon she was on her way to the hospital, siren wailing into the night, carrying away a piece of my heart with it. That night, sitting in the sterile waiting room, the fluorescent lights humming above me, I felt a new kind of terror. The doctors said it was serious pneumonia complicated by her existing heart condition. She needed intensive care, a long stay, and constant monitoring. My mind reeled from the news. How would I pay for this? The thought alone was a physical punch to the gut. The very next day, as if the universe was conspiring against me, my old car finally gave out. The engine light had been on for weeks, a persistent orange glow, and now it wouldn't even start. It was my only way to get to work, my only way to visit my mother in the hospital. I felt completely stranded, completely helpless. I called the mechanic, and the estimate he gave me felt like a king's ransom. My heart sank. I had just enough for my mother's critical medication, and now this. I sat on the curb outside the hospital, the cold Seattle rain beginning to fall, feeling utterly broken. Tears blurred my vision, mixing with the raindrops. I felt like a little boy again, lost and alone. This is it, I thought. I've reached the end. I can't do this anymore. My mother was in the intensive care unit, hooked up to what felt like 100 machines, each one beeping its own silent song of life and struggle. I spent every spare moment by her bedside, watching her frail form, whispering encouragement. The hospital nights were a blur of worry and exhaustion. I hardly slept, hardly ate. One particularly grim night, her monitor started beeping wildly, and a team of nurses rushed in. I was pushed aside, my heart pounding, watching through a fog of fear as they worked over her, their movements quick and practiced. I heard words like code blue and stabilize. It felt like an eternity, but eventually the chaos subsided and they brought her back. They saved her. That night, a kind nurse named Sarah, her eyes tired but full of warmth, brought me a warm blanket and a cup of coffee. She didn't say much, just a gentle squeeze on my shoulder and a quiet, "She's a fighter, Thomas, and so are you." Her simple words, her quiet compassion, were a lifeline in my despair. Later that week, after my mother was moved out of the ICU and was slowly but steadily recovering, I spoke to a hospital social worker about my mounting bills and my broken car. I poured out my story, the shame of my financial struggles heavy on my tongue. She listened patiently, her expression understanding. "Thomas," she said, "there are resources. People want to help." She connected me to a local community fund, one set up by former patients and their families specifically to help with non-medical living expenses for those struggling during a loved one's hospitalization. To my astonishment, they covered the entire cost of my car repair, along with a small grant for groceries and gas. It was like a giant, invisible hand reached out and pulled me back from the brink. It wasn't a handout, she explained. It was a hand up, a testament to the kindness that exists in the world, often unseen. My mother made a full recovery, strong and vibrant again, a testament to the incredible care she received from the nurses and doctors. I fixed my car, and my life, while still busy, felt lighter, filled with a new sense of gratitude. I remembered the kindness of Sarah and all the night shift nurses, those silent heroes who worked tirelessly while the city slept. Their quiet strength, their compassion, had not only saved my mother but had reignited my own hope. I knew I couldn't pay back the fund, but I could pay it forward in my own small way. Every Friday evening before my night shift, I now stop at the flower shop near my apartment. I pick out the brightest, most cheerful bouquet I can find, often yellow roses, my mother's favorite. Then I drive to the hospital and leave them at the night shift nurses' station in the very unit where my mother was cared for. I don't leave a note, I don't ask for thanks. It's a silent offering, a quiet promise that I haven't forgotten the light they brought into my darkest hours. Sometimes a nurse will be at the desk when I drop them off. We'll exchange a small smile, a nod. Once I saw Sarah, the nurse who gave me coffee that desperate night. She recognized me, her eyes widening in a silent understanding. We didn't speak, but in that shared glance, a whole conversation passed between us, a silent acknowledgement of life, loss, and the power of human kindness. Just last week, while leaving the flowers, I overheard two nurses talking, their voices low. "Another beautiful bouquet," one said. "It truly brightens our shift." The other replied, "It's from that man, Thomas. His mother was a patient here a while back. He never misses a Friday." It's a small thing, a simple gesture, but it's my way of keeping hope alive, not just for myself, but for the amazing people who give so much of themselves. It's a reminder that even in the toughest times, there's always a helping hand, a kind word, a moment of connection waiting to turn the tide. And that sometimes the greatest treasures are found not in what we gain, but in the simple act of giving back.